What's going on, everybody? It's Evil Eddie from Pure Evil MMA and ProWrestlingAuthority.com. Today we have a special guest on our Wednesday show with Ted Check. No other than Nick Newell is here to join us. What's going on, Nick?
Hey, how's it going, guys? Good
How
to
are
be
you
on the
doing?
show.
And thanks for coming on our show. I know we had a little difficulty before. My internet was running amok. And we like to do the show every Wednesday. I'm really happy that you ended up coming on. How was your week going?
Pretty good. Sorry, I had a long day. I have a few business ventures going on. I'm running a school, and my grandpa was in the hospital, but he came out. He's fine, so I'm happy with that. Everything's
That's
going
good to
well.
hear.
Definitely. Everything's all right now, and you're good?
Yeah. I'm just I'm a little tired. I was just running all over the place.
For everyone who doesn't know who Nick is, Ted, you want to give introduction of Nick and then let him introduce himself to everybody?
Well, sure. Notorious Nick Newell, the XFC lightweight champion, and then after that you went to World Series of Fighting. You fought for the title there, and if I'm not mistaken, you retired at 13 wins, 1 loss. Is that right, Nick?
Yeah, 13 wins, 1 loss.
And then, I mean, beyond all that, you were known as the one-armed fighter. A lot of people called you that. You have a congenital amputation, so that is you defied the odds and had a tremendous career despite that.
Yeah. See,
So there we go. So Nick, oh, you know what, Eddie, I gotta pull down the volume on the. I'm getting feedback from
Dude, you're always doing that. I told you.
I know.
So a little interesting fact, everybody. Nick lives right here in Connecticut. Nick, a lot of our viewers are from around here in this area. What was high school like? Did you do wrestling in high school? Correct?
Yeah, I started wrestling in high school. Actually, my friend, my neighbor, we used to watch wrestling together, like pro wrestling. And he was like, "Hey, I'm gonna join the wrestling team," and I was like, "Yeah, well, I guess I'll join too." I like wrestling. Like, I had no idea what it was, and I just kind of started doing it, and I fell in love with it. And then, I wrestled through high school, wrestled through college at Western England University, and I was a good wrestler, but I wasn't like good enough to really like be Olympic caliber. To be honest with you, I wasn't even close. Those guys are beasts. So I still wanted to compete, and I had dabbled a little bit in mixed martial arts. So I was like, oh, I'll start training this, and I ended up actually being much better at mixed martial arts than I was at wrestling.
And do you remember the first time you saw mixed martial arts? Because I know for me, like, I would go to the Blockbuster or Tommy K's or whatever, and after I ran out of all the WrestleMania videos to watch, there was UFC 1 with Hoist Gracie, and then all the I know you're a big fan of Ninja Turtles, so like our generation growing up had all these cool things, and then Hoist kind of opened up that gate. Do you remember the first time you saw your first mixed martial arts movie or video or event?
Yeah, I had no idea who Hoist Gracie was until like I really first started getting into MMA after The Ultimate Fighter 1.
Oh man, what a great season that was.
My roommate at the time used to, watch wrestling, and afterwards I was like, oh, leave this on. I want to watch this, But before that, when I was in high school, one of my teammates, Pete Benzavanga, he used to love the UFC, and he would order pay-per-views, and we would come over. But like,
oh, nice.
I saw Tito versus Ken Shamrock.
Oh yeah.
That was my first MMA fight I ever watched. And then I watched actually Ken Shamrock versus Sakuraba and Pride. Those were the only two I really watched, but I had no idea what was really going on at the time. I thought Tito was pretty cool. And when I watched Pride, I had no idea who Sakuraba was, and I was like, how'd that guy just beat Ken Shamrock, And I saw Zulu Zeno. I don't know if you know who he is, like the big guy, and I was like,
oh yeah, that
way.
huge Brazilian dude who fought Fedor.
Yeah, he actually won this fight, and I was like, no way anyone beats this guy. I really thought that he was like invincible when I watched it. So like, it was kind of cool to me. It was almost surreal the first time I watched it. Um, I had no idea what was going on, but I enjoyed it, but I had no idea like how to even watch it or like really get into it. I was just kind of focused on wrestling at the time.
You
But
know, it was
after,
like that for everyone, whether you're a fighter or a fan. Like MMA it's so new, and you can even see that with like some of the rules that they still have. And you have one of the most inspiring stories in MMA, and it's an honor to have you on. And you actually have a movie that you're working on, correct?
yeah, so I have a movie that I'm working on with two guys, Howard Bird and Mark DeSalle. Mark DeSalle, a lot of people know because he produced Bloodsport and Kickboxer, and so he's
Two
kind of
two of
like
the
an old.
biggest mixed martial arts movies there are, really.
Yeah, I mean he's old school and he's made some classics. And then Howard Bird, who he's newer on the scene. If you have Netflix, you should really watch one of his movies, The 4 Minute Mile. And he also
That's
did,
on Netflix, you said?
yeah, it's on Netflix. And he did Mother's Day with Jennifer Aniston and Jason Sudeikis. And then he also did like he's worked with John Travolta, a few other people, and the people that actually wrote the script for a movie that just came out, 10 Cloverfield Lane, which was produced by J.J. Abrams.
I remember that.
I don't know if you guys saw that movie.
I remember
saw
it coming out and everyone talking about it. And it
It's like
was
some
pretty, it
people
did
get
pretty well.
abducted or something. It's like a kidnapping
Yeah,
type.
you can't really say what happens because it's kind of like, what is going on? Is this really happening? Why is this happening? What happened? And it really gives you chills. It made me feel like really like uncomfortable, like it was like so suspenseful. So it was like a really good movie, so I have good faith in these writers.
So where is it at right now, Nick? Where is the movie at? Because there's you've got a date like 2017. They're saying it's going to be out next year, but there's also an Indiegogo account that's set up. So where are they at?
Sorry,
Right
it's after 11.
now?
I had yeah, we have an Indiegogo campaign. Basically, if you donate money to the Indiegogo, you can be a part of the movie in all different types of ways. If you go to notoriousnickthemovie.com, or you look up Notorious Nick the Movie, you can find everything you need to know about it, and you can sign up for like a mailing list, and they can mail you all the specials and all the things that are like available if you contribute to the movie. And there's actually a lot of really awesome incentives for anyone that donates.
Yeah, I saw that. That looks pretty cool. Like, if they donate money, they'll receive something like an autograph or like some fan memorabilia. Is that correct?
Yeah, and then there's like they're working on a few other like bigger things. I can't speak for it yet because I don't know what they have nailed down or what they haven't nailed down. But it's gonna be there's definitely gonna be some like big incentives to donate if you'd like to like be a part of the movie. I think it's really gonna be a great story. I've kind of had a lot of interesting things happen in my life, a lot good, a lot bad, so I'm glad I get to share it.
And man, you have, like I said at the beginning of the show, and if there's anyone out there who's really not familiar with you, I highly even if they are, I highly recommend going to check this movie out, because even just, your story in a paragraph is inspiring. When you got your first start, your friend Abby had passed away, correct? And you were able to fulfill his contract by fighting the rest of his fights on his contract. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, what happened is like he was older than me, but I looked up to him. He actually, I had some confidence issues, in college, and I was a little insecure, and he helped me really overcome my insecurities. I was not very confident person, and I was shy, so he helped me kind of come out of my shell and build confidence. And we went and tried out for the XFC. Like we were both already pro fighters, and we both went and tried out for the XFC, and they actually chose a winner, and it was him. So they chose him, and he passed away in a motorcycle accident So as a tribute, they asked if I'd like to fight in his honor, and I did. And I got the opportunity, and I kind of ran with it all the way to the title.
Nick, how did you develop, what most would consider a handicap, your arm? How did you develop that into a guillotine? How did you figure out that this could actually be an advantage for you? That to me is just mind-boggling.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I did it. That's always been my attitude. I haven't been like, oh, how am I gonna do this? I just kind of do it. So instead of grabbing my wrist and doing the high elbow, I just kind of grab my bicep and pinch my elbows and squeeze. And I did it enough that I got good at it. I was like, you know what? I'm going to work on this one position. I'm going to get really good at this one move. And I want one move that I can finish anyone with, even if they know it's coming. And it ended up being my guillotine.
Nice. Yeah, I got another question about the movie, because I've seen, I've been on the Twitter account, and there's a kind of like a little, I don't want to say it's a movie poster, but there's a picture, and of course the picture looks a lot like you.
It does.
So,
It looks just like you. Is that
so
you?
are they planning on having you as? Are you going to play yourself? Is this going to be like Howard Stern? You remember how Howard Stern played himself in his movie? Are you going to play yourself, or is there anybody else out there that is good enough to play you?
I'm gonna audition for sure. I'm actually kind of a natural actor. I'm
All right.
comfortable,
I don't think they can find a better role for you, man.
I definitely it's not me on the poster, but it looks
okay.
like me. We all look the same. All one-handed people. We all look the same.
Oh,
So I don't know if Denzel Washington wants to play me, I'm cool with that.
I'm trying to find.
Other than that, I think that I'm the best guy for the role.
Somebody said, Steve from Cage Side Submission said that you have of course you have a huge fan base out there of people that really look up to you. But I'm trying to find his name. I had it written down somewhere, and I know he's watching. Jose, I forgot his name, but he's one of your biggest fans. He's watching right now, and he's always retweeting all your tweets. And he's from Philadelphia. So what can everybody expect from now that you're not fighting anymore? What have you been up to?
I opened up my own academy in West Haven, Connecticut. So if anyone wants to come and train with me, I teach the classes. It's called Fighting Arts Academy CT. You can look it up, fightingartsct.com. And that's really been my main focus right now.
And when you started training, I saw that you trained with Andrew Calandrelli. And I know his gym's over on State Street. Is that where you began your gym, or?
No, I began training in Springfield, Massachusetts, with Fighting Arts Academy. I did train with him for a while, but my main camp was out of Fighting Arts Academy, and I just thought that was the best fit for me. There's definitely gyms out there, and people. It's about finding what's best for you. And in Springfield, Mass, they were really putting out some great fighters. So for me, it was worth it to make the trek out there. But I definitely trained with him for a while, and I learned some things from him. So I wish him all the best. But my main camp and my main trainer was Jeremy Libashevsky and Scott Labrie.
So Nick, in your career, you challenged for the WSOF title. You lost to Justin Gagey. You then continued to fight. You won 2 more fights. What was and then you retired. At what age? 29, I think. 28, 29, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I was 29.
What was behind that? Like what motivated you to retire at that point? Because I think a lot of people, myself included, thought you could just keep going, and you still had a great future ahead of you in that regard.
Yeah, man, it's been a long road. I started when I was 14, so like 16 years ago, and I didn't really get to where I am. I didn't just show up and I was good. I really had to grind. I had to work twice as hard, and my body took twice the beating, So at that point, going into that fight, that was my third fight in a row. I was severely injured for, and I was just tired of like relying on this paycheck to make a living, if I don't fight, I don't make any money, and then if I pull out of a fight, I don't know when I'm going to fight again, and it's just like a hard lifestyle to live, as a fighter. And I enjoy fighting, but getting injured all the time and my body shutting down was really kind of taking the fun out of it. And if I'm like pushing through all this stuff for what? At least to me, when I was younger, I didn't care about the money. I just fought whoever. Now I'm getting older. I kind of want to save my money. I want something a little more steady, and I want to set up my future. And that's very hard to do in fighting because, like sometimes you make good money, but then you lose one fight and they want to take it all away. You instantly you get less. So it's like I just didn't want to play the game anymore. I had a lot of injuries, and I just needed something more steady in my life.
And so you were talking about your academy, and then you say you've got some other business ventures going on. What are those?
I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk about them.
Okay.
I have some ideas going down, but obviously I want to like trademark some of the stuff, and I don't want to like give out my ideas.
Hey Nick, did you see the new Ninja Turtle movie that came out?
Yeah, of course I did.
Did you like the first one that they redid, like where it was kind of real, the animation, compared to the one like when we were growing up where they were actually in the suits? And did you like the first, the newer ones that came out? Because I loved them.
Well, you look at like the old ones, and like the first one was like sad, like it had like real emotion, like it was like had some dark parts, and it was cool, and it kind of like I really liked it. And the second one was cool because it became a little more campy. It was like the second one was kind of like the new ones, where it was just like corny and fun. And I thought the Ninja Rap was cool, but the new ones,
Vanilla Ice.
The new ones I like. It's just like as movies they suck. Like they're not gonna win like an Oscar, but if you go in like with the expectation that like, hey, this is just gonna be a fun movie, like it's enjoyable. Like I wouldn't say like the script is like breathtaking or anything, but if you go into it realizing that it's a movie about turtles that run through the sewer and fight people, then yeah, it's a fun movie to watch. I enjoy it.
It's just refreshing to see these remakes and pass it on to the next generation of people who are actually watching the sport of mixed martial arts, and to kind of inspire. And if you had any words of advice for any kids that are listening right now, whether they're in high school going through wrestling, because I remember when I was in high school, those are some of the hardest practices, the wrestling practices, football, Hell Week, the conditioning. What's some words of advice for anyone who's struggling out there that might want to give up?
I mean, you have to know your goals. So like, you only get one shot to wrestle in high school, wrestle in college. It's a very small window, so you have to make the most of it. For me, I made a lot of good friends and a lot of good relationships through my wrestling career. If you can't wrestle, you can't fight. Plain and simple. If you want to be a fighter but you can't cut it on the wrestling team, you're never going to make it as a fighter. Wrestling is fighting. You have to be a sick wrestler to make it in this game, and but if I could have any advice, it's like, even no matter what you're doing, so either if you're fighting or you're you want to become a sailor, or you're like sewing sweaters, like just go for it. Like don't do it half-ass. Like really give it your all, and give it everything you have, and don't listen to anyone that says you can't. Only take advice. Only care about advice from those who care about you. If you're doing something right, then you're gonna have people that are hating on you. So.
And that's everywhere. That's social media, especially nowadays. We see a lot of bullying going on social media, and it's sad.
Did you even have that?
It's whatever. I never really cared about it. It sucks for some people that like it really affects them. I never really gave a shit. So I was like, yeah, whatever. You know, like I'm very everything just kind of rolls off me. I don't really get
Get to
too
don't
work.
let birds build nests in your head.
Yeah, no, I was just like, yeah, whatever. It's not a big deal, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll get pissed off if people like are like persistent, like nagging me with something, and like I'll get mad. But
Yep.
like if people say things or like talk shit about me, and it's not someone I know. Like if I don't know you personally, like I don't really care what you have to say. I never like read a tweet and was like, oh my god, you know. I don't care.
But you had your share of negative, you know, tweets and or stuff like that, you know, during your career though. I mean, I just remember when you were fighting, I just remember, you know, a lot of support for you. You know, I
Yeah,
just
no. I definitely had a lot of support, more support than I had doubters. You know, I had more people that supported me than I had doubters. But you know, I get the you can't fight, you suck, your arm's gross, like stuff like that, like stupid shit like that. So like obviously it doesn't make sense to you, and you don't have to justify it to me because I don't really even care. You know, I'm fine. I have a good life. You know, I was able to be a professional athlete. Um, Now I teach. I love what I do. I have an awesome life. I own a home. You know, I have an incredible girlfriend. So, uh, you know, I'm happy. I'm good.
oh, that's great, man. That's great.
Ted, did you have any more questions for Nick before I ask him my last question?
I just wanted to know if there's a timetable for the movie. I know they said you know the poster said 2017, but is there anything more that you can tell us about that as far as when they hope to start filming?
No, I have no idea. I don't know how this stuff works.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Just stay tuned to the Twitter then.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I know probably as much as you. You might even know more than me.
And you guys can all find Nick on Twitter at Nick Newell and at Nick Newell Movie.
No.
All right.
There's a Notorious in there somewhere.
Yeah, Notorious Nick movie. If you look that up for my movie account, and if you look up me online, it's at Notorious Newell for Twitter and Instagram, and Nick Newell MMA for Facebook.
Oh, you do? You have Instagram?
Yeah, I stay flexing on the IG.
So my last question for you is: this has been such an exciting year, 2016 in MMA. What was your favorite fight so far this year? Whether it was in Bellator or UFC, what stood out the most?
I can't.
Or is there a fight that you're looking forward to? Like the Robbie Lawler fights this weekend against Tyrone Woodley.
Yeah, I'm gonna be away. I watch all the fights. I just don't get excited about anything really.
Well, I know like Brandon Schaub says, like even when he's rewatching fights, it's like kind of traumatic. Like he can't really enjoy it because he's so used to going out there and feeling that anxiety. And you know, I don't blame him for that.
Yeah.
But thank you so much, Nick, for coming on. I really appreciate it. I'm glad that we got to talk to you. I'm excited about the movie coming out, and it's cool to kind of hear like what you had to say, answering our questions, and you know, of course, being a city boy here in New Haven, you know, and watching you fight all these years, it's awesome to finally meet you. So I wish you the best of luck. Ted, did you have anything you wanted to say quick?
No, I just I'm thankful for Nick coming on the show, and yeah, we'll just have to. I can't wait to see the movie, you know, as well. So yeah, best of luck to you, Nick, in all your business endeavors.
Oh, and I just wanted to say, I interviewed one of the people that you've trained with before in the past, Tyler Rose, who's fighting for Reality Fighting right now. So I want to wish him best of luck on his future. I know that me and him were talking about you in our interview, so I just want to give a quick shout out to him. Thank you so much for coming on, Nick.
He's a man. He's a good.
Yeah, he is. He lives right here in
He's got a
North
bright
Branford.
future.
All right, Nick. Well, have a good night, man, and thanks for coming on Evil and Intoxicated.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Nick. We'll see you.
So, Ted, are you with me?
Oh, I'm here.
All right, let me reset up the call. Ready? I'm gonna hang up and quickly call you. Ready?
Okay.
3, 2, 1. All right, guys, we got to give. That was Nick Newell, and now it is time to give Ted a call back. Oh, nope, not trying to call Nick again. Here, I'll bring you guys into my computer quick so you can see what I'm doing here instead of my ugly mug on that Skype free screen. Where's Ted Check? Ted Check. All right, there he is, guys. Give Ted a quick call here, and it's popping up. Ted, there he is. There's the man, the myth, the legend, Ted Check.
That was good. That was a good talk with Nick Newell there.
Yeah, that was awesome, guys. And if you were viewing in late and you didn't know what was going on there, we were just talking with Nick Newell, who, of course, World Series of Fighting, and he has a movie coming out. I'm trying to fix this frame right here. But we didn't really do our proper intro to our show. Ted, for any new watchers, can you just give a shout out to who you are and give everyone an update who you are?
Yeah, man. Here we are, evil and intoxicated. Better late than never. Got a late start to tonight, but
is that our new slogan? Better late than never.
Better late than never. No, yeah, we got a little bit of a late start, but who cares? We're here for you guys. This is an interactive show, so we have a chat. If you have a question, a comment, a concern, whatever, throw it in there. We will address it. I'm Ted Check. You can find me on YouTube. I do updates throughout the week on the latest MMA news.
On the inner tube.
On the inner tube, on the interwebs, and that's Eddie right there.
So what's going on, guys? Thanks for tuning in again this week. And, of course, that's Ted. I'm Evil Eddie. You're listening to Evil Intoxicated. We come every Wednesday night. We just had Nick Newell on, and now we're going to start our actual side of the show. I think we got about, what, Ted, about half hour, 40 minutes to talk a little UFC, a little MMA.
Sure, man. Let's do it.
And to give a quick preview of what our show is going to be, we're going to do our 5-minute rounds. We're going to talk about UFC 201. I know a lot of you guys were interested in hearing what Ted had to say, who he wants to win at UFC 201. And we're going to get into our weekly poll, Ted. A couple fan questions I got. And I took a quick poll. You know what? Let's start off with that really quick. I have them posted.
Fan poll.
I have them posted right here if I can find the weekly poll. Here it is. So, Ted, quick question.
Yes.
Will ruthless Robbie Lawler defend his title against Tyrone Woodley, or will he have a new champion? If you guys are wondering our answer to that, do not worry, because we are going to address that a little later in the show. Fan question, Ted. Who should Dominic Cruz fight next?
Who should Dominic Cruz fight next? See, the thing with that division is it's kind of thin up at the top. So, in other words, you got T.J. Dillashaw. If I'm just kind of going off memory here, because I can't call up the rating, the ratings. But Dillashaw just lost to Cruz, and then I think he
just had his rematch with the Sun Sal.
Right. So he won. So I think he is still at the number one contender spot. So he's asking for it. He's saying, hey, I should be the guy. I should be fighting Cruz again. And so, yeah, up there you have a Sun Sao and
what about Cody Nolov?
What's that?
Cody Nolov as well.
Yeah, he's Garbrandt's scheduled to fight somebody, right?
I like that they're working Cody's up. I like that they're not just throwing him in there, because he was just not. He wasn't ranked prior to the last fight.
Yeah, so yeah, kind of moving him along at a steady pace, but not overwhelming the guy. Garbrandt is going to be, if he continues, he'll be a contender. But for right now, I don't know. I guess it's kind of like, who else but Dillashaw?
31% of our listeners said the same thing, Ted. 31% of you guys ranked it and said T.J. Dillashaw is the guy who will fight next. But
it was a close fight.
But the argument is, does Dominic want to fight T.J. Dillashaw again? Do we want to see that happen so soon? I do. I want to see that happen. But I think Dominic kind of wants to move up or maybe have some super fights. I don't know.
Oh, you think he wants to move up and wait?
Well, I was listening to his last interview with Ariel Helwani, and he was talking about, I'm tired of fighting these people who are building their names off of me, kind of. And you can't really say that with T.J. Dillashaw or but that's how he feels, and that's what he's saying in that interview. So I was curious to see what everyone thought.
Oh, so what about? All right, let me ask you something, Eddie. What about Dominic Cruz versus Conor McGregor at 145?
Yeah, that could happen. I mean, I think there's a long list of people that are before him, but that would be a super fight somewhere down the road in the mix.
Well, of course, also then you've got Demetrius Johnson, who's talking about moving up to 135. So we could see they already fought once. Those two guys, Demetrius Johnson and Cruz, already fought, right? They fought in WEC.
Demetrius Johnson lost. Dominic Cruz won, and that's why
Right,
he dropped.
right.
That's why he dropped down, and no one's been able to stop him since.
Right.
So
but
we wanted to ask you
let's-
guys that. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at evil_echo. We do weekly polls every week. So Ted, are you ready for the 5-minute rounds, boss?
Let's do it, man. Let's do it.
All right, you want to start that off fresh, and I will start the stop clock in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh, it's to me.
It's to you.
Which one do you want to do first, Eddie? Should we do?
Well, quickly, we're going to review UFC Fight Night 20 for everybody. Remember?
I didn't know that was the first one we were gonna do.
Well, I just thought that would be like the right thing to do since
No, it's
everyone's
It's perfect.
coming fresh
Abs-
off the weekend. Get that behind us really quick before we move on with our MMA.
Yep. Okay, yeah. So Holly Holm versus Valentina Shevchenko. We can go right to the main event there. Wow, what a performance by Shevchenko. We both picked her, didn't we?
We did both pick her.
Huh?
We did both pick her.
Yeah. Wow, that's crazy. Because I'm usually wrong. And then everybody on YouTube's like, you were wrong. And I'm like, yes, I don't care. I admit it. I was wrong.
Well,
But
we were
we were
talking
right.
about this. We were talking about this last week that, originally I thought it would be Holly to win this fight. And then I looked a little closer into it, and Bullet is the perfect name for Valentina because her speed is crazy. We kept seeing her do that overhand right to Holly, and Holly was screwing up with that feint. She would do this like this quick feint, and she was getting caught every single time.
Yeah.
And,
I mean,
we saw Holly handled by Valentina. Valentina put on a great show.
Yeah, I just wrote down a couple of things. Shevchenko faster, her speed faster than Holly. It's like she could see everything a mile away that Holly was throwing. She blocking stuff, and then just countering before Holly could even reach her. She would counter. She would see what Holly
was very
was throwing.
predictable almost.
And then Shevchenko would finish the exchanges. She would almost always be the last one to finish it off. It would be with a low kick or whatever. And then I noticed that she was good both as an offensive fighter and as a counter puncher. Whether she was being aggressive or whether she was waiting for Holly and then she had success either way. So it was really impressive.
Yeah, and then that first round, Ted, she started off a little slow, and of course everyone was like, "All right, Holly might have this," but it was Valentina's first 5-round fight, and every single round she looked fresh.
Yeah, and there was that knockdown. Holly knocked her down in that
first round.
But we also saw Shevchenko's judo. Some nice takedowns by Shevchenko with using the judo. And of course, that gives you great balance too in those when they clinched up and stuff like that. But I was looking. She's at number 7. She's ranked number 7, and she just beat the number 2 bantamweight fighter.
I thought she just fought Amanda Nunes.
Shevchenko?
Yeah, right? No.
Well, before this fight.
Oh yeah.
Before Nunes became champ.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is she just beat the number 2 woman.
Oh, you're talking about Holly.
So
okay, that's where you threw me off.
No, I'm talking about Shevchenko.
Yeah, Shevchenko beat Holly, the number 2 woman, correct?
That's right.
All
right. Exactly. So what I'm getting at is who should Shevchenko fight next?
And the perfect person is Juliana Pena. No?
You know what? You read my mind. That's what I was going to say. You've got Misha ahead of her. You've got Ronda. But we don't know when Ronda's coming back. And they're probably not going to give Ronda anybody that
who's not
competitive.
champion.
I think they're... What's that?
They're not going to give Ronda somebody who doesn't have her belt.
Oh, you think she's going to get it? Well, that's right. That's true.
They addressed that. Dana White said, when Ronda decides to come back, she will be fighting for the championship belt, and
That's
she
true.
deserves that.
Okay, you're right. So Juliana Pena, I think, is the one for Valentina Shevchenko.
Here's my argument, though, Ted.
Right.
If Amanda Nunes versus Valentina Shevchenko, if that fight that they had was 5 rounds, not 3, because I don't know if you remember that fight, Valentina won that last round, and it looked like she was warming up. So if she had 2 more rounds that night, would we have a different position? Would Misha still be champion? Everything could be different if that fight was a main card.
Well, that's a good point. I mean, you never know. Shevchenko could be one of these slow starter fighters. Although, I mean, she looked good in the first round of the fight with Holm. But things could have been different with that fight if it had been 5 rounds. I just think, it's somewhere down the road. There's the rematch with Nunes.
And it's so weird how people compare fighters. Like here, Holly was the taller, bigger, lankier fighter, and in most people's minds, she would have the advantage without a doubt in that. And here we saw, I love that little tattoo she has right here of the bullet, because literally she stands with that stance and just fires at you quick. I love that tattoo. It's perfect. You know what I'm talking about?
She's got a gun, isn't it?
Yeah, she got a little gun tattoo, and it's perfect. Right
on her hip.
It's perfect for her.
Yeah. So I think somewhere down the line is that rematch with Nunes, whether she's the champ at that time or not. But first I'd like to see her fight Pena for sure. That would be a good fight. And
to quickly review that, the co-main event, Barboza versus Gilbert Melendez. Barboza with those nasty leg kicks. Very excited to see him fight whoever he's going to be fighting next. I asked everybody, who do you guys think Barboza's going to fight next? RDA coming off the loss. Khabib, he can fight Khabib, but should Khabib get a title shot? What do you think, Ted?
I think Khabib is the next challenger for the title. Yeah, I was looking at the rankings today. So above Barboza's number 6.
Yep. So we got Tony Ferguson in there as well.
Right. We've got Cerrone, but Cerrone seems to be making the transition. He says he'll fight at 170 or he'll fight at 155, but his last 2 fights have been at 170. So it seems like he's kind of making that transition. But if you look at the rankings, they still got Cerrone ahead of him, Nate Diaz, although Nate Diaz, we know he's busy with Conor, Ferguson, and RDA and Khabib. But if he were to fight either Cerrone or Ferguson, those would be rematches for Edson, because he lost to both of those guys.
Yep.
But I wouldn't mind seeing him fight any one of them. Maybe RDA is the RDA's ranked number 2.
Yeah, but he's coming off that fresh loss against Eddie Alvarez.
Right. He lost the title to Eddie. But I think that would be good for Edson. They're both Brazilian. Put that in Brazil. Put that on your next big card in Brazil, and it's going to do well.
Dude, if I had earmuffs on, if I had blinders on and I couldn't see, and I was listening to their post-fight press, dude, I wouldn't be able to tell the difference between him and RDA. I really wouldn't.
Oh, is that right? Is that
their speech sounds exactly the same to me. I don't know. All right, so that was a wild weekend. That was.
I was going to say something crazy. I was going to be like Chael Sonnen. They're all the same. They're from Brazil. They're all exactly the same.
Nothing was worse than when Chael was calling out Anderson Silva. He was starting to get really mean with some of the sayings that you were saying. But all right, moving on to round number 2. Hunt goes off on the UFC.
Yeah, did he ever?
So do you want to give everyone a quick rundown, really quick, on what happened? If we have some new viewers who aren't caught up with us, Hunt went off on everybody. Can you give everyone a rundown?
Well, yeah. Mark Hunt okay, wait, hold on 1 second. Stop the presses. Minion has joined the conversation. If you're saying Pena versus Shevchenko, who do you give Nunes to for her first defense then? Well, I would have to say Ronda. It may not be.
Everyone's on hold for Ronda right now, and I think that's right, Ronda.
Well, okay, so we're in late July. when do they think? I don't know. When do they think she's going to come back? Like
They said November.
November. Okay, so that's enough time. She doesn't need. Nunes doesn't need another fight in between. You don't need to shoehorn another fight in between that.
Well, we saw what mistakes Holly made as the champion, and now she's so far away from getting back up there, if you ask me. So she definitely needs to play it smart while, Amanda's holding that belt right now.
Who's that, Ronda?
No, I'm saying Amanda, she needs to play it smart and not take any fights that, could be at risk of throwing her out of the loop. Because if she does fight Ronda, that's a huge payday.
Huge payday, yep. And like you said, Ronda gets the immediate title shot. So I think that makes sense. Of course, the UFC. Well, I was going to say that a lot of times they'll go back on their promises, but they do keep them on occasion. They promised Tyron Woodley his shot. He's getting it on Saturday. I don't think they would go back on a promise to Ronda because she's such a cash cow. Sorry, Ronda, I didn't mean to call you a cow.
Dude, watch out, you're going to get us hurt.
Anyway, so yeah, so I think that's what's going to happen. Now, so Minion, I hope that answers your question. Back to Mark Hunt. All right, so he fought Brock Lesnar in the the co-main event at UFC 200.
Yes.
Oh, and he's got to fix his chair. And as we know, Brock Lesnar won. Brock Lesnar won the fight, and then it came out, he tested positive for steroids. Oh, my God. Shocker of all shockers. Prior to the fight, he said, I'm a white boy, and I'm jacked. Deal with it. But as it turned out, and I thought he looked clean. I mean, his physique didn't look like, let's say, it did when he was with WWF or WWE back in the day where he was like nearly 300 pounds. I mean, Brock Lesnar looked, slimmed down and I don't want to say dad bod, but I thought there might be a possibility that he was not on the juice, but as it turned out, he was taking the same thing that John Jones was, those estrogen blockers that we talked about before, Eddie, on the show. And so Hunt loses. Brock tests positive. Hunt is incredibly pissed off, and he's like, at first he said, I want half of Brock's purse. Now he says he wants the whole...
Or he's walking, or he's leaving.
Or he's walking, that's right. Or he walks. Now he says he wants the whole thing, and he says, F your fuck your shit company, is what he said to the UFC, and he wants to start a fighters union. And he's got people like Jose Aldo who agree, and he's got people like Ben Henderson who agree. So, yeah, I mean, holy crap, he's pissed, people. He's incredibly pissed,
And, a good point to make, Ted, is his last 3 opponents have all failed.
Oh, yeah. Bigfoot,
Mir, and now Brock.
Right. Yep. That's true. That's very true. So he's getting a little frustrated, and rightfully so.
So what's going on now? Like, it kind of seems like everyone's kind of ignoring, even though he's screaming about all this. Is anyone tending to him? Like, what's going on? Is he getting that money, or what's going on?
I don't know about that part. I know that one of the vice presidents of the UFC, Jeff Nowitzki, he called Mark after his on-air tirade on the MMA Hour, and he assured Hunt that the UFC did not know about Brock Lesnar prior to the UFC 200 fight. Like, one of the things Hunt was saying was he was accusing the UFC of knowing about the positive test and keeping the fight anyway, because if you were to take Brock off, well, that would have
killed the biggest event.
It would have killed the event. They wouldn't have made nearly whatever money they did make. I mean, they didn't beat the UFC 100 records, but they wouldn't have been anywhere near what they did make if Brock was not on the card. Brock was the star power that they were missing. I said this before. Like when Conor fell through, when Ronda continued, when she stayed, when she said she wasn't going to fight until the fall, when GSP, they couldn't get GSP to come back, they needed some type of star power, and they had to look to one of the guys that was on the UFC 100 card, Brock Lesnar, who was with WWE, and so they made a deal. They made a deal with the devil. They they said, oh yeah, we'll give you some free advertising if you give us Brock. So, so Mark Hunt was pissed off and saying they knew about it all along. They knew about the test, the positive test, and let him fight anyway.
Well, at least they addressed what their side of it was. I really hope that he gets some of that money, man, because there's no better fighter right now to be speaking up, because he is pissed that he did not win that fight. Everyone had Mark Hunt, and again, I called the Lesnar fight, and I can't even brag about it now because of these tests. It's all right. Yeah. Baby Slice, Kimbo Slice's little boy, big man now. He's coming into the big leagues. He might be at Bellator 160, I'm hearing.
Yeah, that's Kevin Ferguson Jr.
So it is 11:41 p.m. and the third round starts now.
All right, clock's on. Yeah, so this is Kimbo Slice's one of his sons. He's got a few sons, he's got a few kids, but this is one of them, and he's following in his father's footsteps.
And I just want to address before you say anything that he didn't build his name off of his father. He did this all behind everyone's back. No one really knew what he was doing. He even had a different name. So he wasn't like, oh, that's Kimbo's son. Up until recently, this all came about like a couple weeks before Kimbo passed away. I just wanted to address that really quick because I don't want anyone to think that he's like, oh, I'm Kimbo's son, I deserve this. He's actually built his way up, slowly but surely.
Yeah, I think it was right before or sometime before Kimbo Slice's death. There was some footage that came out of this guy, Baby Slice, as he's called now. I think it was his first pro fight,
yes,
and he scored a knockout in that fight. So that without a doubt, that caught the eye of Scott Coker, who runs Bellator now, and of course, given Kimbo's history with the promotion, it makes sense that Scott would want Kimbo Slice's son. I mean, what's going to happen. They're going to have Kimbo Slice Jr. or Baby Slice. They're going to have him. And they're gonna play like a montage of his dad. They're gonna have that whole little video package ready to go.
Is that circusy? Is that too circusy? Is everyone gonna complain about this?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it makes sense to me. From a business standpoint, from a marketing standpoint. I mean, he is. You could say he's continuing his father's legacy. I mean, while trying to carve his own path, he can't help but. To get out from under his father's shadow, but he can't help but I'm sure think about his dad all the time, and he'll probably say something like, "Oh, I know my dad's watching over me," or "I know he's with me."
And what? It's gonna be a yell at him because if it wasn't for Kimbo Slice, a lot of these people that are fans, followers, wouldn't have maybe seen their first MMA fight if it wasn't for that season, whether it was his internet videos or the season Ultimate Fighter he came on, which was one of the biggest seasons Ultimate Fighter has ever had. And when they did the heavyweights with Brendan Schaub, Roy Nelson was on that season. He paved a path, man.
Well, and don't forget, in between those two things, in between his street fights and his stint on the Ultimate Fighter, there were the fights at Elite XC, right? Yes. Where they had the contract with CBS, and so of course everybody remembers the fight with James Thompson, where Thompson had that huge cauliflower ear and it blew up when Slice punched it, and then of course the fight where Kimbo Slice got knocked out by Seth Petrozelli.
By that cop, right?
No, the cop was a street fight.
Oh, you're talking about Elite, all right.
I'm talking about Elite XC, Seth Petrozelli, backing up, boop, just a little jab, right on the button, boof, knocked Kimbo down, and then a couple more, or probably about 10 more shots, and that was it.
So did they say who Baby Slice's opponent's going to be, or are they just repping his name right now?
I don't think so. My guess is, they'll probably bring him along slowly since he's only 1-0. I mean,
I hope so.
It's kind of like I'm not really drawing a comparison here as far as skill, but you got CM Punk for the UFC, so they wanted to get him with somebody of comparable skill level. So they picked Mickey Gall. Now I think personally that CM Punk is over his head with Mickey Gall, but even though Gall's already 2-0 as a fighter, I think.
Yeah, man, CM Punk's got his handful with Gall. I don't even think he realizes it yet.
He might not. But back to
might not. Yeah, you're right. We don't know because we don't know what to expect from CM. But
right, but back to Baby Slice. I mean, so he's only 1-0. I suspect they're going to get a guy who's 1-0 or maybe 0-1 or 1-1, something like that. You know what I mean? It's just another relatively inexperienced fighter.
All right, so Chael Sonnen taking the USADA test. It is now 11:46, round number 4. So Chael Sonnen, of course, went on Joe Rogan Experience when John Bones Jones, was tested. He released news saying that it was an estrogen blocker. No one knew about it at that time, and now some more news is unraveled. Ted, what's that new news?
Oh, about Chael Sonnen? Yeah, he has said that he has got the itch again. He is seriously considering returning to MMA. As we know, he's been serving a 2-year suspension, and I thought that was going to be it for the guy. I thought that was.
I think
he
we
was
all
done.
did.
I thought he was done. He's 39 years old now. Okay, so 2 years ago, he's about 37. I'm like, this guy's in his late 30s, and he's nearing 40. He's probably just going to call it a career. He's a good broadcaster. He's got a podcast going on. He can pursue other interests. But no, he's got the itch again. So he wants to get back, right back into the UFC. And so he said there's, I think it was like three things that need to happen. What was it? Step one, he's got to take the test to make sure that he's got everything out of his system.
Yeah, because he said there's stuff that might be stuck in his liver and kidneys that get washed out. So if he passes that first test, green light's a go, right?
Right. Then he starts training, and then he becomes or he continues to be the baddest man on the planet, or says something to that.
The true
effect.
American gangster.
He's got the 3 steps. It was like, did you ever see that South Park episode with the gnomes?
Yep. The underpants gnomes.
The underpants gnomes was step 1,
Yeah.
get underpants. Step 2, step 3, profit. So nobody knew what step 2. What's step 2? But Chael Sonnen's got all 3 steps. He knows what he's got to do.
So the question is, and they asked Chael the same thing, if Chael came back, who would he fight? Quick question for the chat room as well. What's going on in that chat room? Because I can't really see what's going on.
Oh, by the way, yeah. Well, Ann has Pat Back is back.
Oh, wait, so the Pure Evil Army has arrived, huh?
They have arrived in force.
And I'm
Hill,
sorry I can't address it. I'm having Ted run the chat room because it freezes everything up on my end.
So Ann is on board as well, and she said CM Punk is going to get his butt kicked, so I totally agree.
That's my girl right there, Ann.
Yep. But Pat believes that CM Punk will win the first fight, but then lose the next one.
And let me just mention, guys, Pat, who we're talking about, is the 9-time Team MMA for Life UFC Pick'em champ. So when he says something, I'd listen.
Wow.
With his picks, he does have some really good picks. He at least gets 70% of his picks right.
That's amazing.
Since I've known him, at least.
That's mind-boggling.
So you guys can find Pat on Twitter. I'll get his Twitter handle in a second. But
is his last name really Back?
No. That would be funny.
Pat is back. Pat Back is back. But anyway, I don't know. Pat, all due respect, I've got to disagree with you. I think CM Punk's going to lose, and then he will go away. Not that I really want him to, but I don't think he's going to try for another one. I
what
think,
would happen if he lost?
I just think he's going to go. Here's what's going to happen. He's going to lose, and he'll grab the mic and he'll say, you know what? I was in this for the experience. I experienced it. It's not for me. I'm going back to WWE, or I'm going to write comics full time, or whatever, because he does that a little bit on the side. But he's going to say, I went into it for the experience. I trained for 2 years or whatever. I now have the experience. I'm good. See you later.
But let me just throw a but in there really quick, Ted. But if CM Punk wins,
Yeah.
What do we have on our hands? What if this dude goes on a 4-fight win streak and we
God.
didn't even see it coming?
Well, I mean, it's the welterweight division we're talking about. This is the division where guys can go on 7 or 8 fight win streaks and still not get title shots. So, you know, he can. I don't know. He was talking about that, didn't he? And then, like a few weeks ago, didn't he say something like, "Oh, you know, I could string some wins together, you know, and I might get a shot." No.
He was talking about title shots?
I think so. If I'm not, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure there was a quote from CM Punk about that, about him stringing together like 4 wins in a row.
And you guys can find Pat at PMC_MMA. Just throw that out there. But yeah, dude, imagine that. So, you know, Chael, if he comes back, who do you want to see him fight?
That is a very, because it'll be in the middleweight division.
Yeah, middleweight?
Middleweight, yep. Another Anderson Silva fight, maybe?
Yeah, of course, in the middleweight division, there's Bisping, there's Silva.
Well, I mean, Bisping being the champ. I mean, let's look a little further down. Let's see. I mean, Rockhold. Yep. I mean, all those guys think they're. You got Jacare. You got Yoel Romero, Damian Maia.
You know, Damian Maia, that's a very exciting fight.
Or is Damian Maia down to? Is he 170 or is he still 185?
I thought Damian Maia was about to fight Carlos Condit.
Yeah, so Maia's now a welterweight. My bad. I can't keep track sometimes, man.
Well, you know what? Since, you know, USADA came in, we've seen a lot of fighters change their weight classes.
Yeah. But I think Chael Sonnen will stay at 185.
All right, so close it out really quick. Who does Chael fight? You're saying he fights Damian?
No, because Maia is.
You want him at middleweight?
Maia's pretty high up. He's poised. I mean, why am I saying Maia? He's a welterweight. Because you said Damian, that's why.
Yeah, middleweight. So what about, you know, Jacare, Vitor? What about Vitor? Vitor fight.
Vitor, that would be a good one.
Guard. I don't know.
Musasi, yep. I would like to see Chael. Okay, I'm going with Vitor. Boom. I'm going with Vitor.
Good fight. I would do it. All right, so I'm gonna agree with you there. Nate Diaz had a little trouble. He was on the Late Show last night with Conan O'Brien, and he had a little trouble. Do you want to tell everyone what happened? I'll find the quick audio clip for everyone.
Oh, nice. Okay, yeah. So Nate Diaz was on the Conan O'Brien show. It's a show that Conor McGregor, his opponent, his rival, his adversary, has been on a number of times. So now they have Nate Diaz on. I got to tell you, he looked pretty chunky.
Dude, he's looking huge.
Like he looked like me with this, this crap down here. He looked really healthy. You know what I'm saying? Like he's fighting at 170. God, he looked at least 190, 195, 200, somewhere in there. You know. But anyway, so he's sitting there with Conan and Andy, or whoever Conan's side.
His boy over there.
Andy, I can't think of his last name. But anyway, having a great time, and then all of a sudden Conan says, "Oh, and by the way, you know, Conor McGregor couldn't be here. So he has this video message and they kind of surprised Nate Diaz with it apparently." And so yeah, I wrote down a couple of things. Conor said, "I sent Nate in my place."
Yeah.
So see, Conor doing this little video thing was able to just say whatever he wanted, and there was no back and forth. They couldn't trash talk each other. So it's just kind of a one-sided thing. I sent Nate in my place. He's wearing that same black T-shirt that he's worn for the past 20 years.
Yeah, I can't get the clip up because it's freezing my computer up.
Okay, and then he said the boy won the lottery the last time, meaning when he beat Conor.
Yep.
So, and then Nate's response. I mean, Nate is not. He doesn't have that quick wit like a lot of other fighters, or maybe not a lot of other fighters.
So it catches him off guard, kind of.
Yeah, so he said something about, I'll prove otherwise or something. But so then today he tweets out, the UFC played me again. #trust nobody. And he even had an emoticon, which I'm kind of shocked that anybody from Stockton would use an emoticon, but it was like a red-faced,
Little angry face, yeah.
angry. You know,
It looks just like him too, the angry face.
it was the eyebrow. So anyway, yeah. So apparently that's what I guess that cryptic tweet is referring to. You know, him getting Pearl Harbored on this show and thinking that the UFC had something to do with it, that they planned it all along. I don't know. I haven't seen any. I mean, some people were speculating, oh, he's just talking about money. He's just saying that, you know, that he tried to negotiate some more money and the UFC said no, or I don't know. I tend to think it's about the Conan O'Brien.
It's got to be, man. It's got to be because it's what makes sense.
And he thinks he's responsible for it.
Nate didn't go on the show to try to look stupid, and then he says, oh, he's in the black shirt. He's in the black shirt. It looked like an idiot, but of course we don't think Nate's an idiot, but you might have felt like one. So he definitely might have felt set up. That's perfect.
Yeah.
The only thing that makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So that ends our five-minute rounds. But quick prediction, Ted. What is going to be the outcome in that fight, Conor versus Nate? What do you think's going to happen?
Oh, you want to go there, huh? All right.
Just a 20-second prediction.
20-second prediction. Conor wins. Conor wins. It's going to take him, you know, I don't know. His coach is saying the fourth round. Somewhere in there, third, fourth, fifth.
Dude, if it goes to the fourth round, that would be an epic fight.
Right. So it's going to be in the later rounds, for sure, I think. But eventually, hopefully his cardio will hold out, and then he won't panic. So there's a lot of things that have to come into play here. But he's a driven man. He is seriously driven. He really wants to get revenge and kind of, you know, avenge this loss. So,
hey man, I am so happy to be witnessing all of this. 2016 has been one of my favorite years so far.
It's been a great year.
It's been an amazing year.
It's been a very great year.
So UFC 201 is this weekend coming up. I'm totally excited for this. I cannot wait. It has an amazing matchup throughout the entire card. Besides the main event, what are some of the fights on that card that you're looking forward to seeing? Rose Namajunas is making her return, and I think this is a perfect fight for Rose. I think. What do you think?
Karolina Kowalkiewicz.
Matt Brown versus Jake Ellenberger's on the card.
Yes, and then also rounding out the main card, Francisco Rivera versus Eric Perez.
Uncle Creepy Ian McCall versus Scoggins. Come on.
Right. There we go. Yeah, I mean, you know, you look at a card like this and you say, well, on paper, it's not very impressive. You know what I mean? But give it a chance. Just give it a chance. And not you, Eddie. I mean, you know, the doubters out there, the negative Nancys. Sometimes the cards that you don't suspect are going to be really awesome are. You know what I mean? You can, you know, I mean, Matt Brown versus Jake Ellenberger.
I was about to say that save fight.
How is that not going to be a barn burner?
Especially Matt Brown coming off that loss to Damian Maia. He's unpredictable, man. So I'm going Matt Brown. Jake Ellenberger's a beast, man. 30-11, absolute beast. But
right.
Matt Brown is a dangerous man.
And Jake Ellenberger's coming off of 3 losses. No, wait, 2. I looked at his last. He had 3 losses. He had 1 win. Then he had 2 losses. So I mean, you know, you look at so what's that? That's 6 in his last 6 fights. He's won 1 fight. It's pretty amazing that he's still in the UFC. I was looking back on their careers, both Matt Brown and Jake Ellenberger. You look at Ellenberger; he was once on a 6-fight win streak, and then you look at Matt Brown, once had a 7-fight win streak. That to me is the only reason why these guys are around, is because they were once very, very good. And so
it's like a Frank Mir kind of situation, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, who can lay claim to things like that? Not too many people can say, I went on a 6-fight win streak in the UFC, or a 7-fight win streak in the UFC. There aren't many people who can say that, you know. But yeah, I mean, Jake Ellenberger lost. He's coming off of 2 losses. Matt Brown coming off of a loss. So These guys
Dude,
are going
Matt Brown had the worst week of his life too in Brazil that time because he was at the weigh-ins and he had his back turned and he wanted to take a selfie, and that's why he originally had his back turned, and then everyone started booing him. So it was like, what the hell? And then he flicked everyone off. And then the next night he's walking in to fight, there are people grabbing at him, ripping at his shirt, grabbing his hat. Then he loses, and then the following day at his hotel he gets beat up and attacked.
Right, that was that guy who I guess it was like his former Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu coach who he had a long-standing feud with. They had another physical confrontation in the United States. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that was absolute hell week for him. But so he's coming off of a loss. So you got two guys coming off of losses. I mean, they're going to go for broke because it's their jobs. I mean, you know, some people say a rule of thumb is, you gotta lose 3 in a row for the UFC to cut you. Not necessarily. I mean, you know, sometimes you can go longer than that, sometimes shorter. So I think both of these guys, you know, coming off of losses, are going to be just going for it.
Dude, and I can't see Matt Brown losing this fight. I'm going with Matt Brown here. What do you got, real quick, before we move on to?
Yeah, I think he's got more ways to win, and I think he will win. You know, he's good at knocking people out. He's good at submitting people. So you know, I think he's got the tools to beat Ellenberger. Ellenberger's just not the same fighter that he was before.
I'm going to agree with you here. I got Matt Brown. All right, so Rose Namajunas versus Carolina Kowalkiewicz.
Let's say by knockout. I'm going to say by knockout.
Oh, you're going that deep? You're saying by knockout?
I'll do it. Knockout.
Right, I like Boom. That. I could see that coming. I could see him getting a knockdown and then maybe submitting him. Anything can happen. It's a shot in the dark.
I like that too. I like that scenario as well.
So Rose Namajunas versus Carolina Kowalkiewicz, if I'm pronouncing that right.
See, I say, all right. I'm half Polish, right? The WICZ on the end of the name, you see that? That is usually pronounced witch. Like WHICH, witch. Kowalka, I'm going to go with Kowalkiewicz. Or some people, you could maybe say the W is a V, Kowalkiewicz.
I like the way that rolled off the tongue.
Kowalkiewicz? You like that better?
We're going to stick with that one.
All right, we'll go with Kowalkiewicz.
All right.
Karolina Kowalkiewicz.
Who is undefeated, mentioned.
She is, in fact, 9-0. 9-0.
I like this matchup with Rose just because her last matchup, you know, Paige Van Zandt and then the Tisha Torres rematch that she just had, you know, she's getting better every single fight. I don't think she's ready for a title fight just yet. So this is going to be a test. They're going to test Rose's skills here. What she did to Paige was vicious. So Carolina's got her hands full with Rose. It's a perfect matchup. So if she does win this fight, I'm just fast forwarding real quick. Is she deserving of a title shot?
Rose Namajunas? Yeah, I would say if she wins this fight, yes, I would say she is. I would love to see Rose versus Joanna. That would be a great fight.
My argument was
a striker's delight.
Based on her last fight with Tisha Torres, which was the rematch where she won, did she look like she was ready to fight Joanna after that point, or is this perfect to warm her up before throwing her into the lion's den?
Well, I mean, let's see how she does against Carolina. But I mean, I would say if she gets a convincing win here, if she either a finish or just beats the brakes off of her, you know, I'd say at that point, yeah. And Joanna's got her eye on her too. I think Joanna is kind of eager to fight her, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and Carolina too. 2 fights in the UFC so far. She beat Randa Marcos already. That was the end of last year. Very exciting fighter. What do you see? What do you see happening in this fight?
Well, you see, it definitely is a clash of styles because you got Rose, who likes to use her length to keep people at bay, but then you know with her kicks and stuff like that. But she's also very good at submitting people. You know, she does like flying arm bars and things like that. And I was watching some tape on Carolina, and she's more of like a pressure fighter, very aggressive, dirty boxing, brawling, clinch work.
You know, six of her wins are to decision as well.
Right. Yep. So it's I was going to say it's hard to beat her. No one's beaten her. You know, so Yeah, I mean, and she's a bit of a decision machine. You know, she's been cranking out these decisions. So Rose would be wise to, if at all possible, finish her, because if it goes to decision, it could go the other way. It could go to Carolina.
And there was a little quick video that they had on like UFC.com or something, like a little 15-second video they recorded. Maybe it was Instagram or something. But
Yeah.
Rose Namajunas was with Carolina, and their dog was there, and they were actually talking to one another, which I kind of thought was cool because Rose
wow.
is such a killer. And Rose's dog was next to Carolina, and she was like, "Get her, get her." I thought that was
That's
but
funny.
you know, Rose's last fight with Tisha, I loved her style there. Even with Paige Van Zandt, I loved her style going into that fight, and I think she matches it perfectly for Carolina. I got Rose winning this in the second round.
Yeah, I mean, they're both very aggressive. So what happens when you got, you know, two locomotives that meet each other on the track? You know,
I think Rose can break
we're
her
gonna
down
find
with
out.
striking. I think Rose is going to break her down with striking, and her jiu-jitsu is going to get her the win on this.
We shall see, my friend. We shall
see.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
of
I
course-
think Rose has a great shot at winning, and I think she has. I think she's more, even though Carolina is undefeated, and I just think Rose is more dynamic, more athletic, and I think she's gonna be able to get a win. I'm gonna go with a unanimous decision win.
Really?
Yeah.
I see a submission. You're saying unanimous decision. I like.
Yeah.
So that brings us into the main event of the evening.
Oh, the evening.
Robbie Lawler, 27-10, goes up against Tyrone, the chosen one, Woodley. Very exciting fight. 15-3 Tyrone. Let's talk about Tyrone
Oh,
before
you have
we
to call
talk
him
about
Tyrone. He corrects people. You can't call him Tyrone. It's Tyron.
Tyron.
Anyway, I don't know. Sorry, Eddie. I didn't mean to correct you.
No, that's fine. 6 knockouts, 4 submissions, 5 decision wins. 34 years old. He's explosive, and I'm talking about Tyron. Right? Tyron. Speed, power, wrestling, puts amazing pressure. And my argument was he likes to start off really quick in these fights.
Right.
You know, with a bang. Where Robbie Lawler, he really shines later on in the fight. In those championship rounds is where he really comes out to play.
Right. Right. Very true.
I'm nervous for this first round to see how this first round's gonna go. I think Robbie's gonna win this though. I do see that happening. Just I see him being more powerful and having more will here. But Tyron is no joke and is definitely deserving of this fight and has a great chance of winning if it's earlier on.
He does, and you know he bristles when people criticize his cardio, but I mean I think there might be.
Well, that's definitely not what I'm doing. I'm just saying watch out for Robbie in those later rounds.
Oh no, and I'm not saying that you are, Eddie. I'm just saying, you know, this is something that's out there. Is that, you know, he's got a problem with people who criticize him over his cardio, and I'm sure that it's something that he has attempted to address in his training camp. I think I was listening to somebody was asking him about that, and he said, "Oh, you know, I've gone 5 rounds, you know, several times during the training camp and things like that, but doing it in the training camp is probably different than, you know, when all your adrenaline is running and you're facing your opponent and you got the crowd and the whole thing. You know the title's on the line. I think it's going to be a little bit of a different scenario." And we might end up seeing his cardio fail him in the later rounds. You know, he's going to go down, and Robbie's going to go this way. You know, he's got a problem with it. He thinks, oh, you know, just because I have muscles, you know, well, actually, he even brought his race into it. He said, because I'm a muscular black man, you think that my cardio is going to fail. My video was, it has nothing to do with race. It just has to do with the fact that you are heavily muscled, and it takes more energy to move all that muscle around. You know, like you got guys. The point I made was you got tall, thinner dudes like Anderson Silva and Neil Magny, those guys don't have any problems with cardio. That they have, it's a different muscle structure. They're thinner, they're lanky. But Tyron is shorter. He's 5'9". And he probably enters the cage. What do you think he gains overnight? Another 15, 20 pounds
easily.
So, he's.
And if we look at his last win too against Kelvin Gastelum, that was very impressive. But he's been waiting for this. His last loss was to Rory McDonald. Do you remember that fight?
Oh, I do.
You want to remind everyone really quick what happened in that fight?
Rory just picked him apart. Rory had him scouted perfectly and was very technical, and was just on point, very accurate, very fast, and he didn't give Tyron much room or any opportunity to do anything, and just constantly was on him, pillar to post. That's what I remember about it.
And after that fight, of course, he got a 2-fight win streak now, and he was going up against Robbie Lawler, who fought earlier this year against Carlos Condit, and what easily could be one of the best fights I saw so far this year. Robbie Lawler. If you guys don't know who Robbie Lawler is, and you're kind of interested in watching, I highly recommend you buying this pay-per-view and checking Robbie Lawler out while we are able to watch these historic fights. Because, man, his last 2 fights, I'm so happy I was there on my couch watching those fights because I will never forget them. The knockout hands, his speed, takedown defense, everything is always on point. 20 knockouts under his belt. And somebody who we never thought Robbie Lawler would be champion a couple years ago, and now look at him.
Right.
He is one of the most feared men, and I love the promo that they did, the ring around the road, or ashes to ashes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was on point. What do you think about Robbie Lawler? What do you have to say to everyone about this?
Oh, the guy's amazing. He's to me, a lot of people have Demetrius Johnson as the number 1 pound for pound guy. I think it's Robbie. I do. I think he's the number 1 pound for pound guy as far as like the people that he's been fighting, the level that he's been fighting at. And some of them have been decisions, but look at the caliber of fighters, from Rory McDonald to Johnny Hendricks.
Yeah, some of those fights made some of those fights made Robbie a dangerous man. You know what I mean? He needed to go through some of those veterans to be who he is now.
Yeah, and here's the crazy thing. He is 34 years old. He's been fighting forever. He's been fighting since he was a teenager. So a long time. And when he was in the UFC, he had a stint in the UFC. He actually got knocked out by Nick Diaz.
Yep.
And I remember Dana White talking about, that he at one point, I guess they parted ways. I can't remember whether they cut him or whether he left because he said that Robbie needed too much money. Like, in other words, they couldn't afford him, I guess, at that point. So he went elsewhere and he fought. I think he fought in like Hawaii, and he fought in Japan. Eventually settled on Strikeforce, and was doing well there. And then they brought him back to the UFC, and he had because that's right. He was kind of hot and cold when he was at Strikeforce, right?
Yep.
But then he got to the UFC and he just started winning, and I'm like, oh my God, we're witnessing the resurgence of this guy's career. I had kind of written him off at that point.
Well, like Lorenz Larkin beat him. And then Johnny Hendricks, when he returned to the UFC, beat him. But he's been unstoppable ever since.
Yep. So I think he wins this fight against Tyron Woodley.
I would love to see that. And like I said,
I'm going to say knockout.
Good.
I'm going to say Robbie Lawler with the knockout.
In what round?
3rd round.
What is the chat room saying? I'm interested to see what they're saying about this.
Let's see. Ann's got Robbie. Minion says Lawler's been talking about not wanting another war.
And you know what? Someone brought this up this week. Robbie has been slurring a lot, if you've realized that. And I know he kind of has like a speech thing. Do you think some of those wars that he went through have had a serious effect on his brain?
I don't know. I'd have to compare, interviews or videotape from years ago until now. I always thought he has a
Like a speech
I don't want to say
impediment
an
a little bit?
impediment, but it's an accent or whatever you want to call it. A certain manner of speaking. I don't know that I've noticed any change. Certainly not like Diego Sanchez after that one fight. I mean, like right after. Remember the in-cage interview that he did, Diego Sanchez, and he was really. I thought his mouth was like full of marbles.
Yeah.
And I mean, of course, that could have been anything, but yeah, I don't know. I'd have to look into that.
If you're a new listener, I try to do the tag, Ted, because it's a live stream. If you're new to listening to the show, I'm Evil Eddie from Pure Evil MMA, ProWrestling30.com. That guy up there, that is Ted Check from Ted Check on YouTube. You can just type his name in and his video will pop up. That is not CHECH, that is CZECH. And you can find him on Twitter at Evil, or no, don't look him up under that name. Look Ted up under
You're the evil one.
Ted Check. And you can find me on Twitter at evil_echo. Like us on Facebook. And weekly updates, weekly webisodes. The podcast is up on iTunes, guys, for everyone to enjoy. I run down UFC 201. I actually start the show off with the Robbie Lawler Ring Around the Rosie, going right into our song. Get everyone prepared and ready, whether you're on your morning drive to work, your morning commute. It has been so nice out. If you want to go outside and tan, bring my podcast with you to the beach. Perfect tan time, an hour in and out. There you go. You're caught up on news and you're tan. Or if you're at the gym, now you're buff. Spend your mornings, afternoon, night with Pure Evil MMA. Find me on Twitter. Look up Ted's videos. We keep you guys all up to date on MMA. And we can't get enough. So follow us, subscribe every Wednesday at 10 p.m. We are here live on YouTube. We just had Nick Newell on if you missed it. So check the video after we upload it. Right now, we're talking about Robbie Lawler versus Tyron Woodley. We're going to wrap the show up in the next 5 minutes. See what else is going on and wrap the show up. We're giving everyone our quick predictions. Ted's saying Robbie Lawler might win this. The chat room is all saying Robbie as well, right?
Yeah, Ann, Minion, and Pat all say Lawler. Well, no, wait. Ann and Pat say Lawler. Minion's comment was, Lawler's been talking about not wanting another war and getting a quicker finish. I hope he doesn't do a Verdun and get caught rushing in. That's a good point.
Ooh,
I tend
to flash to that.
I tend to think Robbie's smarter than that, though. The guy's got so much experience. He's such a seasoned veteran. I don't know that he would.
He didn't really do that in the Carlos Condit fight. You're right. He was very careful. Don't really see that happening, but it can happen if he is anxious about going through another battle like that.
Yeah, he's really got to survive that first round. Woodley will probably, do kind of, like a Vitor blitz kind of thing. And so if he can get past that first round, I'm not saying he'll be in the clear, but then he can start to turn it on. But I think he'll probably start slow, try to get Tyron's rhythm down, start to time him, and and then by the second round, if he can survive that initial onslaught, we'll start to see things happen in the second round, and I'm saying knockout in the third.
I could see that knockout in the third. So live on pay-per-view, guys, UFC 201, Lawler versus Woodley, July 30th, which is this weekend, starting at 10 p.m., 7 p.m. Eastern Time, Pacific Time, coming from the Phillips Arena in Atlanta, Georgia. The way I want to wrap up today's show is I got a fan question this week, and I wanted to save it for our show, Ted, to talk with you about this.
All right.
Cyborg, of course, trying to call out Ronda once again for UFC 205. The 145-pound division, though, for the females. What do you think about this? Are we going to see a 145-pound division anytime soon here in the UFC?
I guess the knock on it has been there's not enough women to fill it. But they could Well, see, here's a question. Let me answer a question with a question, Eddie.
Okay.
Do you think they would do it over a 125 division? Because you've got a lot of women that kind of hover. They're like either small 135ers or they're big 115, straw weights. So do you think down the middle there, a 125 division would be better served for the women, or this? If they really want Cyborg, yeah, they should do a 145, and they could just raid the talent over at Invicta like they did for the straw weights. Remember how they pulled all those women
That
over?
season, yeah.
Yeah, so they could do that for the 145ers. You have oh God, who's the Invicta champion right now? Tanya
Evinger.
Tanya Evinger, and Cyborg, and then you could
Angela
find
Hill champion over there? No, right?
the strawweight champion over there.
Angela Hill. You know Angela Hill.
Yes, from the
Her
Ultimate
grandparents were one of the first people to come forward about being abducted by aliens. You remember that?
Fighter.
Do you not
No.
know that fact about her? Her
No,
grandparents
I-
were
I-
the
no.
Hill family. Her grandparents are the Hills, who you don't know anything about that, really?
No.
Cool fun fact, man. There's documentaries about it. Like there's full-fledged documentaries about her grandparents. They're abducted by aliens. They're the first people to come out about it and talk about it. So 145, and my answer to you, Ted, is I do like 125, but when you have somebody like Cyborg on the sidelines who could be your champion and bring you a lot of money, and if you're not going to set up the fight with Ronda, what are you planning on doing with Cyborg? How much time do you think you have to do this? The female fights are some of the best fights we'll ever see. I think 125 and 145 should be opened up, but I think 145 should be opened up a little sooner, just because you do have Cyborg there. There are girls in Invicta at that weight class, and all around the world. There's a lot of female fighters popping up. Highly recommend checking out Monica Franco. She's in that division. There's just so many people that are talking about they can't make 135. It's hard to make that. So there's my answer for that. Do you think that's going to happen this year, though?
Geez, I don't know, Eddie. For some reason, the UFC doesn't seem to have a problem with stalling over Cyborg. You know what I mean? Like they don't seem to be in any hurry whatsoever. Yeah, she had the one fight, right? There was a catchweight fight.
Yeah.
Down in Brazil. That was at 140, right?
Yeah, it was catchweight at 140. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a catchweight of 140. So she successfully made the cut. I don't know how eager she would be to do that again. I don't know how eager they would be to do that again, because catchweight fights, you know what I mean? Like, I mean that was an opportunity for her to make 140. She made it. So then the question is, okay, well, how about 5 more pounds? Can you make one?
And we all know the answer to that is you lose 5 more pounds, you're losing a lot more than 5 pounds. You're losing, some of your speed. You're losing, you know what I mean?
I mean, I don't know. I tend to think with the right nutritionist, she could be able to do it. I think she would do it. She could do it.
And you know what? That's something that the UFC is starting to do as well. As they're starting to introduce some of these weight cutting things, they're starting to get UFC gym members or fighters, their own nutritionists.
Right. Okay. So yeah, I mean, I think with the right nutritionist, I think it's possible for her.
All right. So that ends up your question out there for everybody. Thank you guys for listening. I'm Evil Eddie from Pure Evil MMA. You can find my podcast on iTunes and Podbean.com. Me and Ted are starting to put our podcast up. It is now on SoundCloud. Last week's episode is up there. I'll be reposting tonight's episode. Of course, our interview with Nick Newell. We had a great time tonight. A little late showing up. A great show planned for next week as well. I got a couple surprises for everybody for next week's show that I'm very anxious to talk about, but I'm not even going to hint towards it yet. But do know I have something very special planned for next week's episode. I just don't want to say anything and then it not happen. So
no, that's a good way to operate, Eddie.
my fingers are crossed right now. I got something planned for next weekend.
Mine too.
That is Ted Check. Ted, do you want to let everyone know where they can find you? Give your tag real quick.
Yes, sir. TEDCZECH. That's me. I'm on YouTube. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. Look me up. Especially on YouTube. I give you as many videos as I possibly can every week. Just giving my opinion for all that it's worth. Usually it's not a pot to piss in, but I give you my opinion. I ask for your opinion on all the issues of the day in mixed martial arts. So yeah. Join me.
I say this all the time too, in case there are any new listeners. Ted, he doesn't want to admit it, and I say this all the time, but Ted is a YouTuber famous almost, especially in the MMA world. Dude, every video, your 2-minute videos that you put out, at least 10 a week, all together, you get thousands of views a week, man.
Yeah, no, I thank you, Eddie. I appreciate it. I'm just doing my little thing. I mean.
I'm just saying, like in the MMA world on YouTube, they have their own people on YouTube, MMA fans. You gotta quit the following there, whether you want to believe it or not, Ted. That's how I found you, man.
I'm just always striving to be better and just trying to get the word out. You know what I mean? So.
And you do a great job at it. I love your videos. So check those out on YouTube. Just type in Ted's name, and you'll find that. You can find my videos right down below, so subscribe. I'll put the button in on the replay. The podcast is up on iTunes, Pure Evil MMA, and ProWrestlingAuthority.com. You can check both those out and check out the weekly podcast. I had a great week. It was a very exciting week, and we have a great weekend set up for everybody with UFC 201 and everything working into play with that. We gave you guys our predictions, and Evil Eddie, Ted Sheck, I'm out. You guys have a great night.
All right, we'll see you.
And we're out.